Have you ever paused and asked yourself, what would life be like if one day you had to live alone in your old age? That question can tug at your heart because, deep down, everyone fears the day when there's no one left to share a meal with, a story, or simply a gentle touch of the hand. But you know what? Living alone doesn't mean being lonely, and growing old doesn't mean your remaining days are only meant to be endured. If you choose to see it differently, old age can be when you truly live for yourself, peacefully, fully, and richly than ever before. It's a time when you're free to do what you love, listen to your body, nourish your soul, and, most importantly, learn to love yourself deeply and tenderly. In this video, we want to share 6 simple yet profound habits that can completely transform the quality of your life when living alone. These are habits that will help you stay mentally sharp and physically healthy, keep your heart warm and connected, and day by day, build a life worth living, no matter where you are or who you're with, even if it's no one. We're not offering advice from books. What you're about to hear is distilled from real-life experience, from observing and walking alongside those who have learned to smile, even as they journey through life alone. Watch until the end of the video, not because we want to keep you here longer, but because we believe that, somewhere in these words, you might find warmth, encouragement, and the spark to begin a new chapter, gentler, stronger, and hopeful. Before we begin, if you find this topic meaningful, please hit like to help spread these positive messages to more people. If you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming inspiring videos. Lastly, leave us a message in the comments below. Share your thoughts, whether you're living alone now or preparing for such a future. Who knows? Your words might be exactly what someone out there needs to hear. Growing old isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new journey. A journey where you are the main character, and each day holds the power to write something beautiful. 1. The journey of gratitude, a path to healing and inner peace. As we enter the later chapters of life, it's natural to look back with a sense of loss. Loved ones who've passed on, opportunities that slipped away, moments now tucked into memory. And that's okay. But in those seemingly shadowed spaces, gratitude becomes a gentle and steady light capable of illuminating even the most weary soul. Mrs. Grace, a retired nurse who spent more than 30 years working at a provincial hospital, once was adrift after her husband passed away from a long illness. The mornings no longer held shared tea and soft conversation. Dinners became silent, and the once familiar house felt far too still. Each day passed like a song with no melody. Then, one afternoon, while cleaning out an old drawer, she stumbled upon a worn notebook, a parting gift from a colleague on her last day at work. Inside was a simple note. When your heart feels heavy, try writing down 3 things that made you smile today. That was the first time Mrs. Grace began her gratitude journal. She started small, the chirping of sparrows at dawn, a warm bowl of soup her daughter brought over, the soft touch of an old wool scarf. And gradually, as if by some quiet magic, those handwritten reflections began to ease her pain. Each memory recalled each feeling of thanks penned down, brought her closer to healing. Gratitude doesn't ask for a perfect life. It invites you to pause, notice what you already have, and recognize that countless blessings are still waiting to be seen, even amid change. You can begin today too. Each morning, take a few moments to think of 3 things that bring you comfort or joy. Maybe it's the golden sunlight on your curtain, a kind message from a friend, or simply the gift of waking up healthy for another day. Alongside gratitude comes reflection, those precious pauses when we step away from the world's noise and gently return to ourselves. Take a slow walk beneath the trees. Sit by the window and listen to the wind. Write down your thoughts, or simply breathe deeply and allow silence to hold you. These sacred, still moments nourish the spirit like spring rain soaking into dry soil. You don't need to go far. Peace may be the quiet realization that you are still here, feeling and capable of love. 2. Stay connected. The thread that holds health and meaning together. Old age doesn't just arrive with gray hair and slower footsteps. It often comes quietly, with shrinking social circles and long silences that used to be filled with laughter. Friends move away, family members get caught up in their busy lives, and the once vibrant conversations slowly fade into memory. The coffee catch-ups and the casual visits seem to belong to another lifetime. Many older people tell themselves, "I'm used to it. I'm fine on my own." But the truth is far more complex. Studies have shown that prolonged social isolation can have serious consequences on both mental and physical health. Its harmful effects are equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Mrs. Ellen, a retired literature teacher in her mid-70s, once believed she was content with solitude. After her husband passed away from a stroke, she settled into her quiet home in the suburbs. The days were filled with gardening, watching television, and the kind of stillness she thought she had chosen. But as the months passed, the silence grew heavier. Birthdays came and went without calls. The once comforting calm turned into a loneliness that wrapped around her mornings and evenings. She began to wonder, had she quietly disappeared from the lives of others? One afternoon, while sorting through an old drawer, she found a notebook filled with farewell letters and poems from her former students. Moved by the memories, she picked up the phone and called one of them. Someone she hadn't spoken to in years. The voice on the other end lit up with surprise and joy. They talked for nearly an hour, reliving the past and laughing at shared memories. That call was the turning point. Since then, Mrs. Ellen began rebuilding her social life one step at a time. She joined a local book club, learned to use social media to keep up with her grandchildren, and even enrolled in an art class for seniors. Her days didn't just feel fuller, they felt alive again. You don't need a big social calendar or dozens of friends. A few genuine connections, nurtured with consistency and warmth, are enough. A kind message, a spontaneous call, a smile to the neighbor across the street. The connection doesn't just warm the heart, it saves the soul. Don't let silence steal the joy from your later years. Be the one who reaches out, says hello, and shares a story, because even the smallest light can brighten someone else's world. And often, it starts with simply lighting your own. 3. Awakening the mind. A fresh start for a vibrant old age. There's a common belief that many older adults quietly accept. Memory decline is just a natural part of aging. But the truth is that the brain can continue to grow as long as you permit it to live, learn, and be challenged. Just like our bodies need movement to stay strong, our minds need regular exercise to stay sharp and engaged. This doesn't mean you have to master coding or solve advanced math problems. Sometimes, the smallest, most consistent actions are enough to keep your mind alert and your spirit inspired. Take the story of Mr. David, a retired civil engineer who left the workforce nearly a decade ago. After stepping away from a career to which he had dedicated his life, he spent most of his days watching TV and tending to his garden. At first, it felt relaxing, a well-earned rest. But gradually, he noticed small shifts, forgetting his grandson's name momentarily, missing doctor appointments, or losing his train of thought mid-conversation. Refusing to surrender to mental decline, Mr. David decided to make a change. He began by reading every morning, not technical manuals like his younger days, but historical novels and adventure stories that sparked his imagination. Then, his daughter introduced him to crossword puzzles on a tablet, and to his surprise, he found himself completely hooked. Wanting a new challenge, he enrolled in a senior cooking class. something he had never imagined doing before. The result? Mr. David felt mentally sharper, more cheerful, and excited to share his new experiences at family gatherings. His grandson, in particular, adored the spaghetti recipe he had learned, and now requests it every Sunday. Novelty is the fuel that keeps the brain flexible and alive. You don't need to be an expert in anything. You must stay curious, keep learning, and remain open to the unknown. That's how you keep your mind lively, regardless of age. And remember this: getting older doesn't mean losing your potential. It means gaining the time to explore everything you once postponed. 4. Giving to live again. The healing power of kindness. As the years pass and relationships slowly grow distant, loneliness can quietly seep into every corner of life. The most natural human response in such moments is often to withdraw, to close ourselves off from the outside world. But there is a shorter, deeper path: helping others, not to prove anything but to heal ourselves, to remind ourselves that we can still bring meaning to someone's life. Mr. James, 78, was once a bus driver in a small western town. After retiring, he lived alone in a ground-floor apartment, watching the hurried world pass by his window daily. At first, he felt fine, but the silence became overwhelming over time. The brief chats with passengers, the morning smiles, all faded into the past. One day, he visited the local library and noticed a flyer recruiting volunteers for a Read with Children program at the community center. At first, he thought he'd just try it out a few times for a change of pace. But after a few storytelling sessions and helping the kids with reading, he rediscovered something he thought he had lost: the joy of connection, being heard, and, most importantly, being needed. Since then, Mr. James has spent 3 afternoons a week at the center. Some days, he helps shelve books. Others, he arranges chairs, waters plants, or simply sits and listens to another elder share memories. But it is in these seemingly small acts that he feels a quiet warmth. I am still useful. I still have something to give. You don't need to do something grand to change the world. A phone call to check on an old friend, a kind compliment to the cashier, teaching someone how to knit, fixing a neighbor's old fan. All are acts of loving generosity. And every time you help someone, no matter how small the act, you're sending a message to yourself. I still have something beautiful to share, and I am still an important part of this world. 5. Small habits. The foundation of a strong old age. Waking up in the morning without knowing what to do, with no plan, no clear purpose, can feel like drifting in a vast, directionless ocean. And as we age, that feeling can easily become a lingering sadness, quiet, but ever present. But there is a simple, yet powerful solution: building daily habits. Not rigid routines or strict schedules, but a series of small actions, repeated each day, that remind you you're still walking a path with meaning, direction, and a reason to keep going. Mr. Henry, 74, was once an art teacher who inspired hundreds of students with every brushstroke and burst of color. But after his wife of 42 years passed away, everything seemed to collapse. Unfinished paintings lay untouched. Meals became a burden. Sleep lost its comfort. At first, he spent entire days sitting in front of the TV, flipping through channels to escape time. Each day felt like a copy of the last, colorless and aimless. Then, one rainy afternoon, he noticed that the wall calendar was still marked with his late wife's birthday. At that moment, he realized he couldn't go on like this. He needed something, anything, to begin again. So, he started with the smallest things. 7 a.m. Wake up and open the window to let in the breeze. 7:30. Make a cup of hot tea and write a few thoughts in a journal. 8 o'clock. take a walk around the neighborhood, and greet familiar faces. He began sketching again in the afternoons, sometimes just a few scribbles. But what mattered wasn't the result. He had picked up the brush again. He made time to call his son, listen to his favorite jazz records, and tend to the chrysanthemum garden his wife once loved. Within a few weeks, he began to feel better. He slept more deeply, and his heart, though still full of cracks, began to let the light in. You don't have to reinvent yourself in a day. Just plant a tiny habit and water it every morning. It could be watering a plant, making a simple meal, listening to an old song, writing a short journal entry, or brushing your hair carefully. These small, seemingly mundane things are the anchors that keep you from drifting too far from the rhythm of life. Because when you have a habit to return to, you no longer feel lost. And that is when you're not just living. You're truly feeling each passing moment of your life. 6. Move to feel young again. Exercise is a gift you give yourself. As we age, many older adults begin to slow down, not just in their steps, but everyday movements. I'm too old to exercise, some may say. And while it may sound reasonable, that belief quietly steals health, clarity, and joy from millions of lives. Many people don't realize this. Movement is the most natural, accessible rejuvenation medicine you can give yourself. And it's free. You don't need to go to the gym, run miles, or lift weights. Just a few gentle movements each day. Walking around the yard, stretching after waking up, standing and sitting with awareness, or simply extending your arms and legs to the rhythm of your breath. These small, consistent actions are like fresh blood that nourishes the body, sharpens the mind, eases pain, and keeps the spirit refreshed. Mr. Thomas, 80, was once a well-known carpenter in a quiet mountain town. His life revolved around chisels, saws, and the rhythmic sound of tools in his workshop. But after retiring and losing his wife, he almost stopped moving altogether. Instead of crafting furniture, he spent most days lying on the couch, flipping through TV channels or staring at the garden without the energy to step outside. The effects came quickly. His back ached, sleep became irregular, and his mood turned dull and weary. Meals lost their flavor. Days felt heavy. One day, his grandson visited and invited him for a walk in the nearby park. At first, he refused, afraid it would be too tiring. But after just 10 slow minutes under the trees, hearing birds sing, and feeling his breath grow steadier, something quietly lit up inside him. From that day on, Mr. Thomas made walking a part of his morning routine, just 15 minutes daily. He added a few stretches and some gentle joint rotations. Some days, he even found himself tending the garden, sweeping leaves, pulling weeds, simple things that gradually awakened his body and soul. Within 3 weeks, he was sleeping better, eating with more appetite, and, most importantly, he began to want to live, not just exist. Exercise is not a luxury. It's a natural right and a responsibility you owe to your body. Whether you're 60, 70, or 80, start today. One small step can open the door to a new chapter, healthier, lighter, and more vibrant than you imagined. You can't control everything: age, physical changes, or unexpected losses. But you can always choose how you live, feel, and face each day. You can dwell in regret, or light up the dark with small, meaningful acts. You can choose to retreat, or reach out and reconnect with the world through simple, loving gestures. You can see aging as an ending or a new chapter. You are still writing, line by line. If you've made it this far with us, it's more than just watching. It's a first step. A step to reflect, to begin a change, however small. That can make a big difference. Take a moment to share in the comments below. What part of the video touched your heart? And what's one thing you'll begin to change starting tomorrow? We'd love to hear your honest thoughts. Because who knows? Your story may inspire someone else, just as this video may have inspired you. And if you found today's message meaningful, don't forget to hit like, share this video with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content. Thank you for spending your time with us. We deeply appreciate every glance, every heartbeat of connection from you. See you again in our next journey, where growing older is not an ending, but a gentle and hopeful new beginning.